It's good to have like many small rivers joining to one. I just lost my marketing money and I don't know where did it go, and so I got a bit frustrated to it. So
pockets, where can it go?
Yeah.
Today's visit is in the studio of Laura Itkonen, who is a ceramic artist based in Helsinki.
Yes, welcome.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to say that this is the first time now that the podcast is actually being supported. I received Taike's project grant.
Congratulations.
So, thank you. It's really good to get some official recognition for this. And I'm very grateful to Taike for this. Thank you, Taike.
Definitely.
Okay, let's start with the studio space, because we are here in this lovely, lovely room. How big is the room, actually?
This is 40 square meters. It's quite much more than I had before, because I used to work in a shared studio, so of course we had like altogether was something like 90 square meters, but then like my ceramic slot was 12 square meters, so it was really small, and I was just lacking space and I needed to do something. So then I upgraded it to this 40 square meters. Of course, I need to have like my small office space and small kitchen and stuff like that here, but they are taking a little space.
It's a great amount of space for a person, and but of course, as a ceramic artist, you do have a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and I needed more like I realized that I need like a proper big table where to work, but also like a floor space, so I can, because I'm doing also these bigger wall reliefs, so then I kind of like sometimes I just need a more space for the floor where I can like install things and just like look how they seem. So yeah, floor and tables more.
Yeah, we're gonna talk, of course, about your work maybe a bit later, but I saw that you're working with these modular pieces, and usually.
Yeah, I've been working like that, but now thanks to Taike again, I got a grant for a bigger kiln, so that's like in my shopping list at the moment. So I'm also hoping to do like a bit more bigger pieces that are like not like modular, but perhaps like sculptures. And
so how long have you been here?
I've been here for a bit over a year. I moved here, well, I guess actually a year. It was something like March or something when I moved here last year. So yeah.
And you said you were sharing studios before.
Yes.
You prefer to have people around you, or are you enjoying it only for yourself? Like what's the better option for you?
Well, at the moment I have been enjoying working alone a lot. I guess I've always been thinking that shared studios are really nice, but they would be good for me if I could have like my own space with a door. So when I'm working, I could just like concentrate on my own head and what I'm doing. And then when I'm like going outside, then I could have a social gatherings. But then again, all my previous studios were like open studios, and I'm quite private when I'm working, so I don't like to talk about a lot the actual thing that I'm doing. I can talk about like my working, but not like the things that I'm dealing in my head. So yeah, I sometimes I find that it can be a bit that you cannot concentrate that well. But yeah, everything has its good and bad things. So of course, like my previous studio mates, we are still like really much connected, and we are having like these coffee gatherings from time to time. I guess we are even seeing more now than we were when we were all working in the same studio. So I don't feel that I'm actually lacking anything at the moment. I'm just like, I feel that my working has become perhaps a bit more free or something like that. So I can just do stuff here and do my social things elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, whatever suits you more
Yeah.
is the best thing for you, of course. What is otherwise the most important thing here for you?
Well, probably the square meters and kind of like the industrial building. So I can I don't have to. Well, you don't have to worry about kiln and firings, but I think this is kind of like a more proper space for doing this, and to have I like the height of this space and kind of like the environment where I'm working, and I like the big windows, though it's very shiny at the moment, but yeah, I like the light and the space.
And you do have these gorgeous, gorgeous plants. Then I'm sure they also enjoy the light a lot.
Yeah, and I like the plants. They give you somehow a bit like homey feeling here and a bit more warm, and I like to take care of things, so I'm trying. They are not like super happy, but
They look super
they are
happy to
happy.
me, honestly. Yeah, on your website, I saw you mentioned that you have some water recycling system here.
Yes, I have actually. I was forced to do it in one of my previous studios because there was just like this very small sink, and we couldn't attach this like this system underneath that you need in a ceramic studio where all the clay's residues will like be collected. So I developed this bucket thing, but I'm still using it because now I have my own bucket for clay residues and then clays. So then I can recycle those. Not much like clay because at the moment there's like low fired clay and then porcelain and other high fired clay in the same thing, but I can use it as an effective material. But the clay's residues are quite interesting because then it's just like something really exciting and something you cannot control because they're just like the scraps from the clays that you use, and when you clean some bottom from the clays and then you put the water there and it will sink there and then you can use it.
So as a new glaze, or how did you?
Yes, as a new glaze. A totally surprising glaze.
You don't know what's coming out.
No, you don't. But that's the thing in there. I like the chemistry in ceramics in that way that, well, when you're doing something and you think you're knowing what's coming out, then sometimes things just happen and surprises keep coming. But that's like a totally surprising thing. So then you get a unique glazes.
This was actually one of the things that pushed me away from ceramics.
Yeah.
I studied porcelain and glass as a bachelor.
Oh yeah.
Degree, yes, and
Yeah.
of course we were mostly we were working with like some sort of a porcelain, not so much just low fire clay, but this like I'm putting something, I don't know what's coming out, was freaking me out. I couldn't handle it.
Yeah, that's the thing in there. It can be a really difficult one to kind of like to accept, but then another thing is like it gives you so much like ideas, and I don't know, it's very inspirational for me.
No, I can see how letting go of control is a good thing.
Yeah.
Just in those cases, I really wanted to. I want to make this thing, and then it comes something else.
Yeah. I know the feeling.
I guess with time you are able to,
well, somehow you can control it,
yeah.
but I guess you always have to like accept the thing that there are things that you are not controlling, and then you have to do compromises a lot.
Yeah. You work, from what I've seen, mostly in flat surfaces. Is that what is?
Well, yeah. Then I have those. Well, my art has been more like in flat surfaces, but then I do also those collectible design objects that are then something else. But I don't know. I have studied ceramics quite a long time, and I did my first studies in this vocational school in Tammela, where I just like had professional. We had we learned about techniques. I was there for 3 years. We were throwing and hand building and using quite like these very basic techniques. Not that much plaster work, but a bit. But already back then I was doing quite many reliefs, and I don't know what's the thing in there, but it has always been something interesting for me. And but now I'm challenging myself a bit. I had this public art project. Now I completed in September for Women's Clinic, and it was a big project. And I already thought back then when I got invited that I want to do something else, that I want to develop my expression. And but now I think like that project has been really important for me in so many levels, but especially in that I feel that my artistry has grown a lot. And now when I got a grant for the bigger kiln, I am kind of like, I want to go for like forwards and do something else, like also like more sculptural stuff, not just like objects, but like usable objects, but sculptures. So let's see what's happening, but I'm kind of like at the moment quite in a growing phase, I guess. So I'm just like, I want to develop myself.
This is a very good place to be.
Yes, I think so. I think like everything has now, like, I think you always need to trust your intuition, and kind of like also that things happen in certain times, and you don't have to and don't even need to rush things. And I guess like things have happened in a perfect time. Yeah.
Mm. Speaking of time, like it's good that you mentioned that where you started studying ceramics.
Mm.
It's interesting to get to know how your path went and how you ended up here now.
Yeah.
So you studied in this vocational school. This is not a replacement for a university degree, is it?
No, it's kind of like the same level as high school. So I did my high school studies first, and then after that I actually, in high school, I took a lot of art classes, and we had this art teacher there who was a photographer, and she was pulling us few courses, and we had this small dark room there, and I was really into photography then. I loved to be in the dark room, and I was feeling very artistic. But then I thought that I want to be a photographer, and I applied for photography school, but I didn't got in. So I went to this half-year school, kind of like you don't get a degree out of it. I don't know what would it be called in English, but I studied it for half year. So then, this was in 2001. So Photoshop was coming, and we were basically doing a lot of things in the darkroom, but then we also had Photoshop courses. And I just noticed that actually that I was enjoying more my time in the darkroom, where I could just like, I was playing with chemicals and kind of like seeing what kind of results I would get out of it, and not that much about the photo itself. So yeah, then I kind of like realized that maybe photography is not like my medium. It's kind of like that I like to do with my hands and play with things. So, but I can't say that how did I find out ceramics. I guess it was already a familiar material, because at school you kind of like play with a lot of clay. So for some reason I applied to study ceramics, and then I got into the Tammela vocational school, and I spent my time there the whole 3 years. And after that I applied to Taik, which is now Aalto University. So then I did my bachelor and master's there.
And when you graduated, was it already Aalto University or was it still like?
Well, in the year that I graduated, it turned out to be Aalto. So I was basically doing my studies in Taik, but then I graduated from Aalto. So I was just in that phase where things were changing.
I think the Aalto is constantly in that phase when things are changing.
Yeah, I have dropped out a lot. Like I don't know what's happening
there also, and things were changing all
Yeah.
the time.
Yeah, but
Programs are merging. Like one is disappearing,
yeah,
another is arising, and it's
yeah. Back then it was very stable. Like I did my bachelor in ceramics and glass art, and well, basically also my master's. But then it was called like applied art and design. But I was basically doing the same things. I was just hanging out in the ceramic studio, and back then all the material research studies were quite wide, and you could fully concentrate on ceramics. So it was a good time.
I'm sure it's good also for them nowadays.
Yes, probably yes.
I haven't spoken with anybody who is now studying there.
Yeah,
but
and of course things has to develop.
Things do develop. Yeah.
And maybe it's good that there are not so many people graduating directly just from ceramics, because you kind of like there's not so many jobs. You kind of like maybe it's good that you have like a wide experience from different things, and then you can also concentrate on certain things. But yeah, let's see. I don't know.
I mean, in life, things are changing nowadays so fast that
yes, you cannot say what's happening.
Maybe ceramics is actually doing a comeback soon, when everything non-physical can be taken by the AI. So
yeah. Yeah, maybe like things that you do with your own hands are something that AI cannot do.
I think they are on the rise, definitely.
Yeah.
So you have been a bit in between art and design the whole time.
Yeah, yes, I have. I already back in school, I guess I was. I had to do...
How does it feel to be like this in the middle?
Well, I think it's quite free space to be, because you can explore and you don't have to think about really like when you're doing yourself. Of course, if I would be doing some designing for some company, then I would have to think about functionality more. But when I'm doing it myself, then I can do it with my own terms. So yeah, I think it's quite like a nice place to play. You can basically do whatever and do like, well, I like to do this. I have this collection of like these clocks, and I think that has been, I should really continue it now, because it has been like a really, really nice objects to make. And I have been like combining different techniques there. I've been throwing and hand building, and so it's kind of like you can mix so many different things, materials and techniques, and then it's still like a usable thing.
No, it is interesting for me also, this space between the art and the design, because I have felt also somewhat in that middle a lot of the time, because I do freelance graphic design on the side, and then I'm an artist on the other side. And I constantly feel like this is some sort of a equilibrium that you have to keep.
But I think like you can actually do something quite different that there's on the market. Like you can also like
you have different perspectives of this. You see two different sides of the world somehow.
And basically you don't have any limits. So yeah, I think it's like something that makes you a different thing from the industrial world, or then again from the total art world. But yeah, I have been like, it has been really interesting place. But I have been moving a bit towards art now, so let's see what happens in the future. But art is tempting me more and more, and
I mean, art gives a lot more freedom there.
Yeah, and maybe it can be a bit tougher place, but then again, I think that, well, maybe it's just the thing that I want to go forwards. Of course, I want to do like my old stuff too and develop those, but somehow I want to feel that I'm going somewhere with my own working.
And what are you doing at the moment?
Well, at the moment this year I have been like planning on like I'm part of this LEM art group that we already founded in our master studies with a couple of my colleagues, Lotta Veroma and Saara Kaatra. And back then we did this animal series project that Iittala was sponsoring us the molds and then like these old plate and cup molds. And then we were like playing with animals and we put it there and made like these miniature worlds. And sometimes they could have been a bit humorous, but sometimes also
aggressive bunnies.
Yeah, well, ma vedi coniglietti. Something like that. You know, we were having fun back then, and then now we are doing our second thing, and we are actually all quite excited about it. We have a good plan, and like this, we are continuing this somehow like this animal world, but in a different, like we have like different stories back behind it. But yeah, that's kind of like the thing that I'm doing mostly perhaps this year. And then I'm also doing my own artistry. I have some like ideas for painting a bit more with glazes and then with sculptures. So that's kind of like my plan for this year.
Is there some specific exhibition coming, or are you now experimenting with the?
I do have some exhibitions coming.
I mean, if you can mention it, if it's not, okay, fine. But
yeah, in the summer there's like this Koola art space in Helsinki, in Kallio. Well, they have like this window gallery, so I'm part of their group exhibition. But mostly I'm just like doing my stuff for next exhibitions. So I want it to be something else. So more exhibitions coming probably next year with our art group and with my own personal stuff.
Otherwise, this Koola group exhibition, when is it? I mean, if somebody want to go and see your work?
I can't remember now the exact dates, but it was in the end of July and until September, perhaps.
Okay.
Something like that. But yeah, July, August, September, I think that's quite correct. Maybe it was 25th of July.
I mean, just to be sure, go on the 30th, maybe.
Yeah, probably. That's a good thing.
Okay, yes, for your design work, of course, functionality is the priority there for any design work. But for your art, do you have specific themes that you are leaning towards, or you want to explore something? Or how do you wrap your artistic work?
Well, maybe it also always depends a bit of the work or the project, but basically I think I'm quite material based, so clay and glazes quite often take me somewhere. So it's always like when I'm doing new experiments or like get a surprising end result from some place, I just like my idea starts to go forward and kind of like I think the actual working phase is for me is the most inspiration. So that often leads me somewhere.
So trust in the process.
Yeah, but then also, well, in my relief works, I have quite often got inspired from architecture and, like man-made environment and all the rhythms and colors in there, but also, of course, like natural rhythms and colors and our nature. But basically, always I like geometrical forms and geometrical rhythms, and they are often from some architecture or nature.
Yeah, your works are very precise.
Yeah, I like to work very precisely, and I am quite like, I look a lot of the details, but then I guess like it's a good thing that I work with clay, so it's kind of like that I have to do compromises and that I cannot control everything. I guess that's kind of like the thing for me, because I like to control, but then with clay I can't control. So I think it's kind of like yin and yang for me. That keeps me insane and sane.
I mean, it's a balancing act, yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
What is your favorite artwork of yours? I know it's probably like choosing the favorite child or something, but which work of yours you like the most?
Well, I'm very critical always, and I see something that I don't like, but I do like the thing that I did for women's clinic. I did those to all 6 floors, those big ceramic reliefs. So I especially like the one in the 2nd floor and 5th and 6th floor. So yeah, it was a very learning experience to make those, but yeah, I do like that, the whole process and the end result. Now, I didn't like it all the time when I was doing it, but now I do.
Does it usually happen that you do something and you don't like it so much and then you like it more? And is there like a pattern to that?
I think you kind of like, your work usually looks very different when you look it at the studio and when you see it like going somewhere to their new homes or a gallery or whatever other space than your own studio. I think often the works looks very different. So yes, definitely. Like here I can like look very small details and see like that I don't like that part, and then but on the other places you can see the whole combination and the whole work, and then you are more forgiving to yourself perhaps.
Yeah, and I don't know, I just have this idea that it always looks better in the place where it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Afterwards.
Yeah.
No matter what, it's just always better there.
Yes, definitely.
And not to mention that you, as the creator, of course, you probably look into it a lot more than anybody else would and actually observe.
Yeah, probably no one will ever look those small details that I am looking, but yeah, maybe it's a good thing. Like I think like in ceramics too, because before you fire it, clay, it's like recyclable and you can use it all over again. But once it's ceramics, it's there for good. So I think it's very important to also see those and look those details and think what you're firing and what you're making, and so you won't be just like producing stuff and you kind of like have to learn to let go things.
Well, you can always break it and make mosaics after that.
Yeah, you can.
So that's another transformation you can do there.
Yeah.
Once maybe.
Yeah, and maybe like some brick industry will use those, but I guess they are taking their small ceramic scraps from some big factories or something. But yeah, of course, like things you will burn still things that you don't like and things that don't success, but I think it's very important to do that thinking process before you put your kiln on.
So you always have this sustainability thought in mind when you are making your work, how to make it more efficient and not waste.
Yeah, yes, I do.
Of course, there are activities where this is a lot, like ceramics is one of those that you can really find ways to do that.
Yeah, and I think like, because the whole process is something that you are using materials from the ground, which are digged from there, and then you are using electricity to burn your stuff to ceramics, which is then eternal. So I think like, especially in my design works, I like to think so. Maybe art is a bit different always, but in that sense, I'm also quite critical. So I don't know, maybe I can lose a bit sometimes, but yeah, I don't see it as a bad point to be as sustainable as possible. Of course, you are a human being and you're like...
That's something everybody should be thinking about, of course.
But of course, you are always consuming stuff and you have to be also forgiving to yourself. But
I mean, if we get extreme in that thinking, we just have to jump from a window or something.
Yeah.
That's the most sustainable way, just don't exist.
Yes. But, so that's not the answer. But, but something like reasonable in between.
How do you sustain your practice? Like, how are you able to pay the rent for your studio and buy materials and just keep going? Is it the design works mostly, or is it also the artworks? Or
well, maybe it depends a bit of the year. Now I've been, because I had this big public art project that was good for me financially. So that is keeping me at the moment alive. But because the consumer, they don't buy perhaps that much at the moment, but they do a bit. So it's kind of like balancing a bit. Sometimes the design work is more gives me more income, but now it's more like art has been giving me more income. So for the moment, I have been able to be working as a full-time artist, but let's see if sometimes I'm not, then I have to have a side hustle. And but I also do photography still for Lundia. I take their product photos, so I do have like these small side hustles. But I think that's also kind of like, even though I'm not a professional photographer, but I think that's kind of like also a bit my work.
I mean, you have studied photography back in the day, so the basics is there for sure.
Yeah. So I kind of like to think that it's good to have like many small rivers join into one. So
yeah, that's what I also very highly agree with.
Yeah.
Although I've spoken with people who say that they prefer to focus only on one thing, like being fully an artist, immersing yourself completely in your practice. But these side gigs, at least in my opinion, they give you different perspectives and just help in some way, maybe not directly always, but enrich somehow this experience.
And sometimes you just have to.
And sometimes, of course, you just have to.
So it's... Well, I think like this photography thing is something that I don't have to. It's often like a few years ago, perhaps already 5 years ago, I was working at Lundia. So I kind of like know them back then. And then I started to do the photography for them. And now I go there like perhaps like 4 times a year. And that's kind of like I feel like it's my... kind of like a one day of holiday when I'm going there, because the people there are so lovely and we always have a fun day. And it's kind of like, though I'm working, I'm just like catching up with them. And yeah, it's really nice side hustle for me.
Yeah, it's great to have this kind of a relationship and kept after you left.
Yeah.
Awesome. Are there people here around you, other artists, or like this is a big building that is with different... I mean, you have your studio here. There are probably other studios or other activities.
Yeah.
Do you keep in touch with those people, or?
Not really. I like with the people that are in the same corridor as I am. But then there are like so different kind of companies here, and we don't rarely met in the elevator or anything. So not that much. I think like my social thing are happening in my own little bubble somewhere else. But maybe, I don't know, maybe someday, like I've heard when I was moving here that there are sometimes like these gatherings, but there hasn't been one in my time here. So,
well, you haven't been that much, so still time.
Yeah. And maybe things got like often like they got really changed during the COVID. So I don't know if it's like something like that that people hasn't been doing that anymore. I don't know.
Yeah, some things were changed for the worse from COVID, for sure. Do you involve somehow other people, like friends or family, in your work in some way? Or
well, sometimes my husband is helping me, like if I'm not at work or not able to come here, he might do some shippings and like fix things for me. He has this, he likes to do repair bicycles, so he has this small slot there, so I am like using his tools also and it's very handy for me, but not that much otherwise.
I mean, and sometimes it's really good to have these two stronger hands to literally carry stuff around anyways.
Yes. Well, definitely then when you have to move stuff from place A to place B, then like some help is necessary. And also my sister, but she lives in Australia, but she's sometimes helping me with like, well, I have like this newsletter idea at the moment because I would like to have something else besides the Instagram. So
I was actually going to ask you about that.
Yeah.
Because it was, this the thing with the artists, or like in your case maybe / designer, and newsletter. I know some artists do have newsletters, but there are not that many. Did you get to that idea? And have you done it for a long time?
I haven't done it yet at all.
Not at all?
No, I have like a sketch for my first one already.
Okay.
But let's see, maybe someday I will send it. But I'm still somehow a bit afraid of it. but I wanted to have something else because I don't know. Instagram is a really nice place, but it has changed a lot. And I'm not actually that into the communication there. Like it's so short and it can be so a bit too quick, and I don't like to spend my time that much in there. So I was planning like that I want to share my working somehow and maybe a bit more deeply than I can do in Instagram, because I'm not a fan of videos or I don't like to talk on videos. Then I was kind of like thinking what other things that I could like have customers to myself somehow, because in Instagram they are kind of like in there. So I would like to like have a connection directly from me. So then I was kind of like talking with people and like marketing people and like what do they think about newsletter, because I don't read that much newsletters myself, but I've heard that they can be very good. And then when I got into it, I was kind of like thinking, because I like to write, but I'm not like perhaps a good writer, but I like to write. So I thought that newsletter could be like a good for me. My plan is to keep it very, very personal, still in like talk about work, but like write in a personal way and maybe share a bit more of my studio practice and well, maybe also ceramics and the formulas and what I'm using and stuff like that. So yeah, I was kind of like thinking that newsletter could be a good thing for me, that I could just focus there perhaps once a month, and then it could be, well, whatever I have on my working table. So then I like to communicate with people with my working, but I don't think Instagram is the place to do it.
Yeah, I mean, just a few things pop in my head. I mean, it would have been nice if you had already done it. I really would. I'm curious how this process goes, because I'm considering to create a newsletter for the podcast as well, but it's still not there completely.
Well, perhaps in 2 weeks at least. Well, maybe sooner already. But yeah, you have to join my newsletters.
I will definitely join your newsletter.
See my first one.
And everybody else could, if you go to
Laura's my website. So there in the bottom you can subscribe. Yeah. So this is my plan now. That would be like perhaps a more personal way of getting to, like, people to get to know to my working and what's going on in my work table, and a bit more like Instagram, but in a deeper level.
Yeah, and then it's with Instagram and all the other social media, you kind of don't have the ownership so much of like you have the ownership of what you post, but otherwise it's a very goes to the company itself somehow.
Yeah, and I don't know what's been going on there. I just like
they changed the algorithm a little bit, and then you are completely like, oh, what is going on now?
And then while I was doing the women's clinic project, I wasn't in Instagram that much, and I wasn't posting that much because I was just concentrating on that project. And I don't know, like, if I was gone a bit too long or something, like you kind of like have to start again and to get seen there. So I don't know, I just got frustrated to it. I know I don't like to play with the algorithms, and so that you would be like popular in the terms of algorithms, you should need to make those videos that I don't like to do. So I don't know, it just takes so much time if I would start to do videos when I'm working, because I have tried it, but then, you know, your hands are on clay, and then you kind of like need to move the camera, and somebody else should do that.
That's a bit of a pity, because I love watching those ceramic videos.
Well, yeah, me too. But it's just so much work to do.
The material is so photogenic.
Yeah.
It's so good for videos.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can see how it can be a bit messy.
Yeah. And I don't know. Maybe someday never say never, but...
Oh, I mean, you can also share those with the newsletter if it happens to, you know.
Yes.
Become a thing. Yes, but definitely subscribe for Laura's newsletter.
Yes.
As will I. You mentioned that your husband is doing shippings, and then I realized that, you do have an online shop as well.
Yes, I do. Yesterday I launched my renewed one. So now I have it in Shopify. So it's a bit like, well, I had it for years in my old where I have my portfolio website, but it was American based, so you couldn't put like different taxes there. So that was my plan, to do it in a proper shop where I can use different tax rates. So now I have it, and I think like I'm a bit more excited about it now, because I feel like it's a really proper shop now.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
This is also one thing that not many artists have on their own shops.
Yeah.
Although many people create work that can be sold online, like it would have been a good thing to have.
Yeah.
But then I don't know. It's a bit like this question of should you or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know what's the thing. For me, it's been really natural, like to have an online shop and sell directly from me. And I've noticed that people usually like to buy directly from the artist, and I also want to be like easily approachable, that you can see prices, and so nothing's a secret, and you don't have to like send me an email that is this available and how much is it. So yeah, I think it's quite good thing to have.
Yeah. No, well, I think it's this very general idea about the art, and art as an object that you can sell and buy, and there's a bit of a threshold with many artists, I think, on that. Although I'm sure everybody is happy if they are able to sell a piece.
Yeah.
Because of course, like, you can't forever just create and store work.
Yeah.
And it's great if somebody else can enjoy it.
Yeah.
As well. But yeah, maybe it's easier if you have design objects to of course create a shop and start.
Yeah, when you kind of like, well, I guess also that when you have enough of work, though my online shop is small, I don't have a big stock, and I prefer this pre-order system. So I also have products that are kind of like that you can pre-order, and then I'm start to making those. So it's not just like that I would be making a huge stock and sell that one, but yeah, I think it's kind of like if you have items like art or design works that you feel like you want to put on an online store, then it's quite easy to establish one. So don't just keep them in the drawer.
It's definitely easy to make nowadays, especially it's getting easier and easier.
Yeah.
Do you have the need? Do you feel the need to promote that store somehow, or are people just naturally coming?
Well, of course, I have been promoting my online store before in Instagram, but I don't know, the marketing thing has gone really difficult there too. I don't promote there anymore, but yes, of course, you kind of like,
because for somebody who would just decide, okay, I'm gonna make my own store now.
Yeah.
What should they do? Like, okay, you make the actual store, but then what do you do?
Well, I guess like Instagram is still a good place to promote your work and promote your website, but of course, like in the different events or whenever, like in podcasts like these or whatever, is like you just tell your friends and colleagues and talk about it. So, but of course, like if you want to have like a lot of buyers early in the beginning, then I don't know, maybe promoting in Instagram is a good thing. Like you don't need to have like a big budget for it. Just like I don't know, 50 euros, you can do a lot. So yeah, maybe start there.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, I mean, it's I'm sure that if somebody just asks ChatGPT or Googles or something, that they will find tips for how to do stuff, but it's always better to hear it from a person who has done it already.
Well, that has been my style when I started my online shop, and I guess like well, I don't promote that much anymore in Instagram because I don't know, like my previous marketing was, I don't know what happened there, but just like didn't gain. I just lost my marketing money and I don't know where did it go, and so I got a bit frustrated to it. So
pockets, where can it go?
Yeah. So I don't know. So many things has changed there. So I'm not promoting at the moment. Maybe someday again. But then again, I have been trying to be more active there now. I just like post photos, and then you kind of like gain also naturally some more followers, and you get to be seen there. So
you are one of the rare examples of somebody who is, doing also art, but spending time online to develop their online presence as well. That's interesting to me. That's why
well, maybe that's the design background. I'm not like so artist that I couldn't be like putting my prices or kind of like selling my stuff like from other, like not just in galleries, but also like through online store. So I don't know, maybe it's just a bit of a relief that I also have this other side of me, so I'm not afraid of doing that. Or
I think it must be, because like setting prices, it's the toughest of them all tasks.
Yeah, and then kind of like also, I think in the fine art field, there is a lot of that you just don't know how much things are, and it can be like a huge step to send an email to ask like, what is your price range, because you kind of like it must be a lot, but it's not always a lot. So it's good to be easily reachable. So
yeah. So how do you price your artworks? Like for design works, it's probably easier somehow, but do you have a system somehow to do that?
No, I don't have a special system. I guess it's kind of like just, of course, I try to calculate like my materials and my time and like my other costs, so that I can cover those. And then it's very hard to say, like in the art field, like how because then you kind of like also need to calculate that if this work is going to a gallery, then they will take 40 to 50%. So you kind of like need to add that already there.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's hard thing to calculate, but also of course in design objects you kind of like have to calculate that one too if somebody is reselling your stuff. So yeah, maybe you kind of like I have made an Excel at some point in the beginning where I kind of like calculated how much my materials cost and how much is the firing and what is like my pensions and my rent. And so you kind of like, I have this quite good somehow like this sense what I need to have, and then I have to calculate that if somebody else is selling this, then what's the price then. And of course I try to keep at least in the design objects, I try to keep the prices same whether I'm selling it or somebody else is selling it. So
well, this is already a system.
Yeah, like that is a system, but it's not like very clear system. But it's just something like, it's good to calculate things that you won't be doing any, like you will get some profit of it, so you can continue your work.
Of course, I mean, if you're constantly losing,
yeah,
it's not gonna last long.
No, that's not a healthy way to do it.
Another side of the working, like when you come to the studio, do you have some specific processes of how you work? Like, how does your day go here?
Well, I usually I'm a morning person, so I come here quite early in the morning. Now I have been coming here even earlier because, I don't know, I was in my sister's place, and in Australia at least in Gold Coast area where they live, they start their mornings early. And at 6 o'clock they can also be surfing there. And I was kind of like, because people were like going to sleep very, very early, and I was kind of like living in that rhythm. So I noticed that, and I have noticed already before, but I do like that rhythm. So when you kind of like wake up early and you kind of like, I don't know, it just suits me very well. I wake up quite early in the morning and drink my morning coffee at home, and then I come here, and then I just kind of like start working already. If I'm getting here a bit later and then I'm having my coffee here, then it just takes me like 1 or 2 hours to get to work. So it's kind of like it's my rhythm. It works me very well. Then I get off already earlier or sometimes later, but yeah, then I just usually, I try to make these schedules for me, like what I'm doing, and if I have some orders, then I kind of like know what I'm doing and when, because there are a lot of waiting and things waiting to kiln to cool down, and you kind of like need to have some kind of routine in your work. So I try to do it, not so often though, but if I have a lot of things in my calendar, then I'm doing these schedules, what I'm doing in every day, so then I know what I'm doing the next day. But yes, I try to do it so, because you kind of like keep your mind organized then.
And you probably are able to do more when you
know
what you're doing.
Yeah, then you don't just like wander around and think like, would this be nice? But of course, at the moment when I'm doing mostly my own stuff and doing something new or something like going somewhere, then it's always maybe a bit harder to make those. Well, maybe I don't even use schedules that much. Then I kind of like, I do orientate that when I come here, I start to work. But then again, you kind of like, whatever the work is, kind of like experimenting with forms or techniques or doing some glazing. And I don't
What's
know
your
if I did
favorite?
answer your question, but
I think so.
there's some kind of routine, but then there's not. You kind of like mix things.
Yes, and I think that's one of the big benefits of this type of work generally, because you have a little freedom to see how things go, and it's not like strict job that you go do this, and like it's not so robotic.
Yeah, sometimes it's nice when you're doing if you have a bigger project, then you kind of like know what you're doing the next day. But when you have a smaller ones, then it's more free, and it can be a bit harder to follow it. But then again, you kind of like enjoy the both sides.
And you several times referred to it as play.
Yeah.
So that's
maybe my days can be a bit play too.
I mean, I think this is very important to keep this kind of a mindset that it's fun to do.
Yeah, I think it has to be something like that. Of course, it's not always fun, and when you kind of like do your living out of it, then you have a pressure also. But yeah, it has to be fun somehow all the time, I guess. Like, I don't know. It can be frustrating to do a web shop because that's now like in my head, my recent process. But when you kind of like just trying to do something with a computer and you kind of like just watch your working table, that I would love to do ceramics and not this. But then again, it's rewarding when you get it done and then it's out there and you're just like, no, I can do something else. And that was actually quite fun. And I perhaps learned a lot. But yeah, computer stuff is not my favorite thing to do.
Do you visit exhibitions?
Yes, I try to do it. I haven't been now like in Finland that much now this year because I was visiting my sister, but yeah, I was there. I think visiting exhibitions are quite important when you're doing creative work.
How are exhibitions in Australia?
Well, there was this Asia Pacific Triennale, which was really interesting because that area of the world is quite unknown for me, perhaps also. So it was really nice to see like these artists work from little islands and especially also from Australia and Asia. But yeah, it was interesting and I guess it's not that different, but I guess there can be a bit like different kind of techniques but yeah, maybe not that different altogether because we are living in a global world, but yeah, interesting to see.
Well, we are living less and less in a global world nowadays, but yeah, there are some good sides to that.
Yeah.
Keeping some of those similarities between the people.
Yeah, and maybe you can like see a bit more, at least there you could see like more this heritage from these small islands and like materials or how they use it or how they paint or.
Do you follow more ceramic arts or are you also paying attention to other forms?
Well, also other forms, but of course ceramics is really close to me, but yeah, I do follow other forms too.
What would be some artists that you like their work? Or maybe at this moment, because of course these things change over the years, but like now.
Yes, and I'm really bad at remembering names, but my all-time favorite has to be Ruth Brück. But of course, she's an like old artist, deceased already. But yeah, Ruth Brück has been like a really, really important artist for me. And I'm so bad remembering the names, but I do follow these, well, a lot of artists in Instagram, but these few Japanese artists, I can't remember her name, but she's doing like this really colorful fruit work. But sorry, I can't remember the name.
You can send it to me afterwards. I'm gonna bug you for it because
yes,
you know, I have on the website of the podcast, I have this recommendations page.
Yeah.
Where I ask everybody to give names of other people that they got inspired from, and so I'm gonna write it down there.
Yes.
For other people to see as well. So
good. I can then put few names there, but
yeah.
But yeah, then is this recording now?
Yes.
Yes. So I also actually now discovered when I was visiting my sister this Vipo Srivilasa, this ceramic artist, and he does these really nice, very, very humorous and positive ceramic sculptures. But yeah, he was really inspiring, and I guess I got really inspired because of like his work, because of our future, like this LEM art group project. So he had this a bit like something that we could inspire from. But yeah, so that is the name that I can remember now.
Which is impressive because I already forgot it. It sounded a bit complicated.
Yeah, I can also send it to you. So
yeah, if I cannot find it by myself, I will definitely ask you.
Yeah.
When you are in Finland and you check exhibitions, where would you usually go?
Well, I usually go to, well, of course, Kiasma and Atheneum and, well, sometimes Design Museum, but it depends a bit what they're having. Maybe in the exhibition field, I like to go when there's like a bit more artistic things. But then also galleries, like, of course, Local is always a nice gallery, but then again, I guess like contemporary and stuff like that is something that usually offers me something that I haven't seen that much. So yeah, I like to go and see stuff that isn't that familiar for me.
So what other inspiration you get from other places? It doesn't have to be like even a physical place, but like, where do you gather?
Well, then, like rocks and minerals are something that I love a lot. I always collect rocks. And then actually I just last year I found this mineral collection in the botanical garden in Kumpula, and they have like a lot of these minerals all over the world. And well, ceramics is a lot of working with minerals, and you kind of like it's close to there because clay is close to minerals. And so I don't know, it's just like so fascinating to look all the colors and all the details and how does the quartz look like when I'm using quartz here, but how does it look like when it's coming out from its natural place, and how different it can be from different like areas of the world. So yeah, rocks and minerals are like perhaps one of my really favorite things. And well, then of course I also like, even though my works are not like, they are quite abstract, but then at least in the women's clinic project, I got to this figurative world and kind of like thought about different stories and stories that are inside that building. And even though like my expression is quite abstract, but then those stories kind of like kept my working and my ideas going on, and that was kind of like some red line in my own head when I was planning that work and doing it. So yeah, it depends a bit of the project and what I'm doing, and especially like in this public art project, when you kind of like doing the work in some certain space, and in this case it was women's clinic, so I felt it really natural to have like a story in my own head which is based on that particular place.
Yeah, it doesn't have to come out in the work itself, but it's something that is helping you in the process of making the work.
And quite often when I'm doing these small wall sculptures, and they can quite often look a bit like some animal or something, that's also like when I'm designing those, I'm always doing so that I just make these little parts in different colors, and then when they are ready, I just like start to play a puzzle. So that's also something like I like when I get something familiar or something like, well, perhaps like an animal shape there, even though it wouldn't look like an animal, but in my own head it looks like an animal. So yeah, stories and like these familiar shapes, but depends a lot what I'm doing.
Well, thank you. Thanks a lot for
Thank
this. It was very nice to meet you, and
thank you for coming, and
good luck with upcoming things.
yeah, something new is bubbling under.